Here is Flex Wheeler, one of the most popular bodybuilders of all time. Everybody loves that name. Flex. Who wouldn't? He's a bodybuilder. That's what they do, is flex. But you know what? That's not his real name. His real name is Kenneth. He's Kenneth Wheeler, or Kenny. But either way, it's not really his nickname. It's kind of his name. Flex Wheeler. He actually has a nickname. It is the Sultan of Symmetry. Symmetries, baby, please. And that is what this video is all about. Nicknames. You guys requested this one. It won the poll. You want to see the rest of them? Get this video up to 400 likes. We'll do the rest of them. But back to the nicknames. Seen the Tominator did a video like this a few years back. So I used that to help, of course. Now we have Jay Cutler. The first few guys, maybe not my favorite nicknames. You guys know what Jay Cutler's nickname was? The cut above the rest. Cut, because it has his name in it. I don't know. Now this one might be my least favorite. I guess Sultan of Symmetry or Flex for Flex Wheeler. That was actually a pretty cool nickname. But actually using your name involved in the nickname itself, and you know who else did that? Taking nothing away from Jay Cutler. He really was a cut above the rest. But do you know who else did that? Another Olympia champion, the great Lee Haney. Maybe not the best nickname of all time. He was totally awesome. That's what they called him. Totally awesome. Because Lee was involved. It was a nickname, but you know what? Didn't really stick, so it's not really that important in the career of one Lee Haney, and the name Lee is pretty cool anyway, so I guess you don't really have to put that in there. But I guess I had to put that in this video. And another Lee. Now this guy, I did like his nickname. This was Lee Labrada. And if you're unfamiliar, I like to leave it waiting a little bit to see if you at home can tell your friends or spouse or what have you the nickname in question. And he's not that big, is he? Oh, this picture here, he shows a lot of mass. Of course, in the previous photos, he showed a lot of class, and that's what he was. He was mass with class. And that's a pretty cool nickname, if you think about it. Of course, that's what he was. And no nickname describes what somebody was more than Kevin Levroni's nickname. You guys know Kevin Levroni's old nickname? Way back when? Here he is a few years later. You know where he was from? He was from Maryland. He was the Maryland Muscle Machine. Maryland. The Maryland Muscle Machine. I apologize. Kevin Levroni. And I actually did like that nickname. Not bad at all. What about Vitaly Ugolnikov? Is Good Vito a good nickname? Is it? Is it really? I kind of like it, but I'd like to know what a good veto is. Do you guys know? I know what a prodigy is, and it is Brandon Curry, and that nickname. Whew, it worked out for you, Brandon. He actually went on to win the Olympia title. So he really was the prodigy, but it doesn't mean I have to like the nickname. I don't really. And I also don't really think that Victor Martinez, his nickname, was the greatest. Wasn't bad. It was, in fact, the Dominican Dominator. Not too shabby. Frank Zane's, anybody remember his? He was actually called the Chemist. Not the best. Sean Ray also wasn't my favorite. He was Sugar Sean Ray. It seems like he's the only one that calls himself that now. Tony Freeman, I didn't mind his. Look at the frame on him. It is shaped exactly like an X. He is the X-Man, Tony Freeman. Not bad at all. Here's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm sure many of you do know his nickname. I was not a huge fan of it. The Austrian Oak. I did like this guy's nickname, though. Tom Platz. He had a couple. If you can name them both, give yourself bonus points. He was the Golden Eagle. But to me, he'll always be the Quadfather of Soul. No, just the Quadfather. He had a lot of nicknames, though. Oh, I love Robbie Robinson's. He was, in fact, the Black Prince. What a cool nickname that was. A very similar nickname to Serge Nabre's, and his has to be one of my favorite. He was the Black Panther. Roar. But not too many bodybuilders could roar like this man, Samir Banu. And his nickname, I think, to date on this video, is my favorite. He is, in fact, the Lion of Lebanon. He can roar like a lion. What a cool friggin' nickname. But he's not at the end of the video, so it's not my favorite. Let's move on. The more I think about it, William Bonak's nickname is one of the best. He is the Conqueror. Cool nickname, isn't it? So was Danny Padilla's. There's so many good ones. Danny Padilla's, his nickname was probably reused more times than anyone else's. He was the Giant Killer. So a very intimidating nickname. Imagine somebody sitting next to you with the nickname Killer. You'd be thinking, will he kill me? Is he capable of killing people? Here's the next guy. This is Bertil Fox, and that's not funny. He was brutal. Bertil Fox. Brutal. Bertil. On with the list. A little awkward there. Nick Walker. I'm sure you're all familiar with his nickname. He is the Mutant. I like to call him the Mutate, which is kind of the same, but he's the Mutant, Nick Walker. Another modern guy. Can't think about Nick without thinking of Martin Fitzwater. I'm not a huge fan of his nickname. I'm a huge fan of Martin Fitzwater, mind you. I'd like to call him Martin the Great. They call him Martin the Martian. But anyway, I like James Hollingshead's nickname, the Shed. You know how big a shed is? You're underestimating how big an actual two-hole shed is. So James Hollingshead is the Shed, and I like it. Oh, here's Fuad Obiad. You guys know his nickname? Little Joe? Probably not. Adam? No. Pa? Is it Pa? I smell porterhouse, Pa. Barn's on fire. It's Hoss. Fuad Obiad's Hoss. A little bit of information about Mark's Max Muscle. Bonanza has to be my favorite show, and Hoss, he's going to be my favorite character on my favorite show. But anyway, Rolly Winkler. His just rolls off the tip of your tongue. He is Rolly the Beast Winkler. Love that nickname, the Beast. Quint Beastwood? Quentin Uriah Beastwood? So Beast, it's used a lot, isn't it? Oh, Akeem Williams. You can't forget about his nickname. It's the Beast. Just joking. So there's 3 beasts. Oh, suffering Moses. This guy has to be the Beast too, right? He's just so gosh darn big. It's Victor Richards, and his nickname was Mr. Big. And I kind of like that nickname. But he wasn't really a proven commodity like this guy here, Chris Cormier. You see, Victor wasn't, stage ready. He just wasn't the real deal. And Chris Cormier, the real deal, I think this is better than the Lion of Lebanon. I'm telling you right now, they're different in a way, but I kind of like Chris, the real deal, Cormier. It suits him because he was the real deal. And then there was Kai Green. It was a good nickname, but then that show came out, and So, Kai the Predator Green, it depends on what light you see that name in, I guess. You could say, for the lack of a better term. Now, Rubiel Mosquera, to change the subject, just a slice. I love his nickname. He is Neckzilla. Because of his neck. Look at the size of his neck. I mean, the quads, I guess you could have strapped another Zilla name on him, couldn't you have? But that in particular, Zilla, belongs to this dude, Paul DeMeo, and he was Quadzilla. I'm sure a lot of people call Tom Platz that name. I guess Tom's the quad father, and Paul DeMeo is Quadzilla. I believe that's how it goes. And they're all cool nicknames. And then there is the greatest of all time, the best of all time, Ronnie Coleman. Very difficult to say his name without adding his classic nickname in there. Anybody guess it? Judging by his gear that he has on there, his little crown. Who wears a crown? I'll tell you who wears a crown. The King. Ronnie the King Coleman. And anybody else wearing that crown, I'm here to tell you, they'd look foolish. Downright foolish. But with the right gentleman darning that gown and cap, it works. And it did work for Ronnie the King Coleman. One of the best nicknames of all time. So we are definitely into my favorites here at the end. Sean Roden. He had one of the coolest nicknames of all time. Are you kidding me? He was Flexatron. Flexatron. That's friggin' awesome. One of the best nicknames. And so was Paul Deletz. If you guys were around back in the day, this guy was so big, he was a dinosaur. Do you know how big a dinosaur is, kid? That's what Paulie said to Rocky that time. He was, in fact, Jurassic Paul, like Jurassic Park, because of all those dinosaurs on that island. How many people seen that? I did like the nickname, and it was Mickey, not Polly, by the way. Goofed up on that one. Phil Heath has to have my favorite nickname. This is my favorite. Well, no, there's still a couple left. But Phil the Gift Heath is so fitting. Phil the Gift Heath was truly a gift bestowed on the bodybuilding world. I'm here to tell you, he was a true gift to humanity itself. What a beauty. Phil the Gift Heath. Now, to me, Hattie Shupin's nickname is just that much better than Fiddle Heath's. Hattie Shupin is, in fact, the Persian Wolf. I like when Bob Ciccarello says it. The Persian Wolf, Hattie Shupin. So a very cool nickname. I like the placing, too. The placing goes before the name. Sometimes it goes in the middle. Hakeem the Beast Williams, things of that nature. Sometimes it's at the end. But he is the Persian Wolf, Hattie Shupin. One of my favorite nicknames of any bodybuilder. Bodybuilding history. Here's Dorian Yates. You can't talk about bodybuilding history without mentioning Dorian Yates. And it's pretty cliche for people to put him, their favorite nickname. It's not my first, but it is close. It's up there. There's only a couple more guys. But Dorian Yates, he is the Shadow. Would have been cooler back in the day because he didn't come around to the American guys. He didn't train down there. He trained in the UK, and then like a shadow, he arrived at the Olympia and beat everybody. So a very cool nickname for sure. Now, of course, this is all my opinion, and I could tell you my favorites all day long, but I could also give you my opinion on who has the best nickname, or I guess the most successful nickname. And I think that nickname belongs to this dude here. This is Mom Elsbaye, or Mom de Elsbaye, not quite sure. It's Big Rammy. Everybody calls him Big Rammy. And that's his nickname, kind of. It's more of his name, really. So, in the grand scheme of things, Big Rammy is the most successful and therefore best nickname. Is it on the Sandow? Did they put Big Rammy on the Sandow? They put all their names on there. If anybody's nickname's gonna be on there, it would be Big Ramrods. Anyway, here's Sergio Oliva. One of the greatest, one of the best of all time. Absolutely, bar none, one of my favorite nicknames of any bodybuilder in the history of the sport. And a very close second. Only one more nickname that I like better than this guy. He is the Myth. He was like a mythical creature back in the day. You know, you didn't see pictures like we do now. So if you weren't there, you really didn't see him. And what people seen, they were astounded. Their eyeballs popped right out of their skulls looking at this guy. The proportions, the size was just unbelievable. And people did not believe it. And they just said it was a myth until they seen him for real. So he was the Myth, Sergio Oliva. And to pay homage to him, years later, that same nickname was given to Lee Priest. Only he was the Blonde Myth. So extra little shout out to Lee Priest, the Blonde Myth. Very cool nickname. Of course, you gotta like the original. You gotta like the original. And now, my favorite all-time bodybuilding nickname. And you can't say it's not correct, because this is my opinion. The Technician, Chris Aceto. He is technically perfect. I'm just joking. Take it easy. Little bit of a joke there at the end. My favorite nickname belongs to this man. The legend himself. Former Mr. Olympia champion. Dexter the Blade Jackson. The Blade. Come on. It's the best. You'll notice, if you are familiar with my videos, hey, you could be new to the channel. But if not, if you're familiar with my videos that I make on Dexter the Blade Jackson, I always call him Dexter the Blade Jackson. Always. Because I just simply love that nickname. It goes with him. He is the Blade. He always comes in razor sharp condition. And if I'm not mistaken, that character, the Blade, the vampire, he lived forever. He didn't age, so Dexter didn't age either. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's a Vampirio. Could be a Vampirio, or whatever you call it. Look at the size of the traps on the guy. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this one. A bit of a long feature, but I really wanted to make it thorough and not just give a top 10. There's just too many. I seen the Tominator video on it. There was a couple other videos on it, so go ahead. Watch those ones too. Some of them might even be better than mine. Highly unlikely. Have a great one, guys.